is good,
Wow.
everybody? Welcome back to the Full Blitz Report podcast. As always, I'm Easy, and with me to the day that we ain't on it no more is the man with the digital PhD himself, the digital doctor,
The
Louis.
digital doctor. I'm still getting used to the digital doctor
Oh,
shit.
that's it
I
now.
fuck with it
That's
though.
that's the
I like
one.
it.
That's the one. It's the
All right.
digital doctor.
Digital doctor.
How's
I'll
your
put a
week been
little
going?
animation right here.
That's it. Put it right there. Your week been all right?
I'm good, man. Chilling, man. You know what I'm saying? Another week. Getting to it.
Hey, that's what it's all about. Well, we got a good week, a good show for y'all this week. Sports has been doing real well for me. I like it. Everything's looking good. Of course, we're gonna go over the NFL, college football, going crazy again for the third week in a row. Hey, we got a WNBA champ. We're gonna talk about that. We're also gonna talk about another thing that happened just recently. I think over the last day or so, within the WNBA, that I really want to talk about. Put my piece out there and see what y'all think about it. When y'all hear it, make sure to comment, and as always, make sure you liking, sharing, subscribing, following. Interact with us. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think we could do better. Tags right there. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and you can also check the show on all major platforms. That's going to be YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, all searching that right there. Y'all have to excuse me. I have a hard time remembering my name, much less remembering everywhere, that the show is on. But we're also going to get into a little bit of the NHL.
It's just at all streaming platforms.
All streaming platforms.
Everywhere. It's everywhere.
See, as he comes in, makes it right, just like a doctor. Everything works. Got the World Series preview coming up, New York and LA. We're gonna dive into that a little bit. And then, like I said, we're gonna look at a story with the NHL that has a little bit of a sad part to it, but seeing what the NHL community came together to do is great. I love to see that in sports. I love to see the entire organization coming together. Let's jump into the NFL first, as always, y'all. A game that I was super excited to see, not because I'm a fan of either team, but because I felt the way the Giants did Saquon Barkley was mad disrespectful. If you watched the In the Office show on HBO that they do, the name is just getting away from me right now, but they did it with the front office. So you got to see the way the front office looked at things, the way they treated the player, not the way they treated them, but the way they handled player relations and everything like that. And the way that the Giants handled Saquon Barkley, I thought was just crazy. They were like, yeah, we're basically going to let you test the market and we'll see if the number you get is what we like. And that's just crazy to me. Saquon's a top 5 running back, maybe top 3 in the in the NFL. And to just treat the man like that was insane. So, of course, what'd he do? He did what all good running backs do. Goes out and puts it on him. 17 carries, 176 yards, and a tutty. Also had 2 receptions for 11 yards, but not all that productive in the pass game. But 176 yards. He was running personally. He was mad. He gonna say, "You gonna disrespect me like that? You're not only gonna let me walk, but you're gonna let me go to a divisional opponent, and not just a divisional opponent, but one that's right down the way from y'all." Nah, he wasn't having that. He made sure that he knew what the Giants did and how they looked and how goofy they looked doing it. You know, Philly's defense was all over the Giants in every way. In every way. Passing, rushing, getting to the quarterback, only rushing 4 and still getting to the quarterback. I mean, I don't know how you can beat a team when you only get 119 yards against them. That's not the recipe to win, especially when you give up 269 rushing yards as a team. That's what the Giants are doing right now. I thought earlier in the year that they were showing promise, but not this week. Daniel Jones gets benched. Coach says, "Hey, he's still our starting quarterback." I'm not really sure what you're seeing in him. Maybe it's just because they don't feel like they have anybody behind him. You had Malik Neighbors, who is, although he's a rookie in this league, he's a very talented player, kind of throwing a jab at Daniel Jones. That's kind of what happens when wide receivers don't get the ball the way they think they should. They get a little upset. But Daniel Jones hasn't shown the ability to be consistent enough to lead that team. I think maybe it's time that you swallow the 40 million a year you gave him, uh, and see if you can move off of him. It's going to be very difficult to do that, but maybe you should try. A team that can't move off of their quarterback, and not saying that they should, is the team that right there at MetLife in New Jersey. Again, as I should say, that they are not the New York Giants or New York Jets. They are the New Jersey Giants and Jets, because where they play is technically in Jersey. The Jets came out and just, even with Devontae Adams, could not get anything working on offense. Pittsburgh's defense is for real. And if y'all think that they're not, watch that game. Just go back and watch that game. And that'll show you that Pittsburgh's defense is for real. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Now, the quarterback last night was Russ, and I was vocal. I was very vocal about the not agreeing on the decision to switch. I thought you're 4-2, you're in first place for your division. There's no need to come off of Justin Fields. Justin Fields gives you a threat to run at the quarterback, which throughout the game you saw that the Jets weren't worried about that. They were not worried about Russ taking off. So is Russ going to give you that production in the pocket, mobility wise, moving around, making plays and throwing every week? I don't know. If he does, I'll gladly eat my words. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting when I had a bad take. And right now, it looks like this might have been a bad take because I didn't understand it. Now, when you have a defense like Pittsburgh does, with TJ Watt, with Queen, with Hayward, with Fitzpatrick, I mean, they have stuff. And then you have Hightower. I think it's Hightower, the other edge rusher on the other side of TJ Watt. You have to pick your poison. You can't keep all of those players from making phenomenal plays, and that's what they did last night. They were able to really just take Devontae Adams out of the game. They shut down Bryce Hall. Lazard made some good catches, which I think you're going to start to see. And Garrett Wilson made some good catches, but also had a horrendous drop that wound up bouncing back for an interception. You had number 31 from Pittsburgh, Beanie, I can't remember his last name, had 2 interceptions, 2 well-timed plays. So I think Lazard is probably going to wind up being maybe that forgotten guy in that offense. We're going to see. He might also be that guy that, because the teams are so focused on Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, that Lazard winds up getting more receptions. And people forget Lazard was at Green Bay too, so it's not like Lazard isn't familiar with Aaron Rodgers. So that's going to be something that I think will be interesting to watch. With Pittsburgh, Tomlin does what Tomlin does. Tomlin tells people, hey, stay out of grown folk business. Let us worry about what we're doing, and let us worry about how we're going to run our team, because they go out and put up 30 plus. Russ looks good. I'm not going to sit here and act like Russ didn't look good, but the running game also looked phenomenal. Najee Harris is really running the ball. And I mean, as a team, they ran for 149 yards as a team. Russ goes 16 of 29 for 264 yards with 2 touchdowns. What that tells me is that offensive line is starting to play well. When the offensive line starts to play well, things look better. So is it Russ coming in and looking great, or is it Russ coming into a team that is playing well and was playing well under Fields and is just a beneficiary of that? So I don't know. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks for us to figure out if it is Russ or if it's just a team making Russ look good. The defense, as I stated, and I'll state 100 times, this Pittsburgh defense is phenomenal. You know, even with Rodgers getting Adams, his BFF back, you know, still only he goes what? He goes 24 for 39, 271 with one touchdown, but it's a pair of picks. Yeah, not a good night for Aaron Rodgers at all. You know, not at all. And then you have Pittsburgh who only gives up 60 yards in rushing. I mean, that's you can't beat anybody that way. You can't beat a team, especially a team like Pittsburgh, giving up two interceptions, rushing for 60 yards, and then letting the other team run for 150 yards basically, and Ru- Russell Wilson just almost throwing for, a three burner and two tutties. So we'll see. I'm not. If I was wrong, I will say I was wrong. But we're gonna have to look as the games go on. A team that I was not wrong about, and that I will continue to not be wrong about, is my damn team. The Tennessee Titans go out against the Buffalo Bills and just get dog walked. We even switched quarterbacks. Will Levis got the seat. Mason Rudolph comes in, still get just burnt. Dog walk, 34-10. Being a Titans fan sometime is like walking up to a brick wall, bashing your head into it, and then when you start to bleed, wonder why, so you do it again. That's what being a Titans fan is like. I I don't get it. And guess what? With Jacksonville winning yesterday in London, Titans are now the worst team in the league. Titans are now playing for the number one overall pick. You can't argue with me on that. Even if you're a diehard Titans fan, I am too. You can't argue with me. I mean, what do we got here? We got Rudolph going 25 of 40 for 215 yards, a touchdown, and a turnover. Right? You can't throw interceptions, especially against a team like Buffalo. Buffalo's going to score. And now that they got Amari Cooper, who, I mean, yeah, he only had 4 targets, but he had 66 yards and a touchdown. Now he's got a quarterback throwing to him. He's got a quarterback in Josh Allen that can throw the deep ball. Excuse me. Now, Buffalo has a serious, not that Shakar wasn't a serious threat, but now they also have a serious number one receiver. Now you have Shakar, you have Coleman, you have Cooper, you have Knox, you have Kincaid, you have Cooks. That is a offense that is stacked. That offense has a bunch of playmakers on it. And they came out and just did it. Allen goes 21 for 33, just, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns. And we don't look like the number one overall ranked defense. I guarantee you we're not going to be the number one overall ranked defense after this week. It is so infuriating to believe in a team so much preseason. Offensive line, new pieces. Brian Callahan brings in his dad, Bill Callahan, arguably one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time. Brian's supposed to come in and revamp the offense and change things. And Will Levis is getting cosigns by Tom Brady and Chris Johnson and other Titans legends just for him to come out and have 11 turnovers, just not play good football, not paying attention to what he's doing. He seems lost. He seems like the game is faster to him this year than it did last year. You get rid of Derrick Henry, which I understand the thought process, but he's still the best running back in the NFL. You get rid of Derrick Henry, you bring in Tony Pollard, who, hey, has been killing it. Last time I checked, he leads the leagues in yard after contact. He's been killing it. Now, Tajay Spears has been hurt, but he is a phenomenal young talent. I'm really excited. Traylon Burks, we need to go ahead and just get rid of him. He's hurt again. It looks like we potentially could trade Hopkins before the trade deadline. Calvin Ridley, although be it got more involved with Mason Rudolph. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that in the direction that the team is going, and I'm concerned about what we as Titans fans can expect for the rest of the season and the future going forward. Two teams that I know are not worried about their future are the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. My number one and number two from my Power Five last week, and they did not disappoint. Phenomenal game. I mean, a phenomenal game. Detroit got the win 31-29, but
Minnesota gets a late fumble, great punch out, looking like Peanut Tillman, returns it all the way, takes the lead 29-28. Minnesota's defense, maybe attrition was to blame. I don't know because Detroit ran the ball very well against them. But I mean, they both quarterbacks looked phenomenal. That was a game against two potential MVP candidates in Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. So I mean, if you didn't watch that game, if you missed the game, you should go back, check out the highlights. I mean, Darnold went 22 for 27, 259 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Got to clean up that interception. You had St. Brown, who wound up being able to get the best of JJ in top wide receiver, duels or not, getting together and playing. I don't know what you call that. It's different when it's two quarterbacks, right? Because they direct the game so much. But two wide receivers, what they gonna do if the ball don't get thrown to them? But St. Brown had a phenomenal game, and one thing that I'm real big on I'm on St. Brown about is he is exactly what coaches want in a wide receiver. Even if he's not getting the ball thrown to him, the dude is down the field blocking on run plays. He blocks for screen plays. Like he does not have to have the ball. He is a productive player with or without the ball in his hands. And he's just, I mean, Dan Campbell's got to be ecstatic to have him. So I'm looking at that game, and it was pretty much all offense up until the play by Minnesota, which I thought was a fantastic, fantastic play. Got to him, wrapped him up, punched the ball out, was able to get a clean recovery and get down the field to score. I really wish Minnesota's defense maybe we could have stood up and kept Detroit from getting down the field to walk it off with a game-winning field goal as time expired, but that doesn't always happen that way. So, hey, kudos to, those teams. They gave us two great games. Very happy with that. I've been very happy with a lot of the football that we've gotten from the top teams. Speaking of top teams, another game that ended in a walk-off, which was another very good game, is Houston and Green Bay. Houston is one of my Power 5 teams that went down, my Minnesota being the other one, but Houston went down to Green Bay 22-24. Again, phenomenal game. It came down to a game-winning field goal again as time expired. Now Stroud kind of had a tough day. 10 of 21 for 86 yards, no touchdowns, but he was sacked 4 times. I don't think people understand how much that is for a guy like CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's mobility is so understated sometimes because he is a very good pocket pass quarterback. But for him to get sacked 4 times, man, it almost kind of feels like the offensive line rather, just really had an off day. And, I think they're going to be better next week. They were better the week before, and they're still a top 5 team to me. They're still going to win the AFC South by a million games, and they're going to be a problem because Joe Mixon looked phenomenal. And when they get the game going their way, running the ball, Houston rushed for 142 yards as a team, which is really effective for them. But with Houston, I think this is why we saw 4 sacks. Tank Dell had no receptions. And I think this was the week we saw the loss of Nico Collins really affect the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, people forget, is a sophomore quarterback. He's a second-year quarterback. And even though he does have Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, it's different because Nico is his guy. That's who he goes to when he's in trouble. And without him being out there, I think that has a lot to do with the 4 sacks. And I think that just had a lot to do with why we saw Stroud maybe seem a little more uncomfortable than we're used to seeing. Jordan Love, on the other hand, I mean, Jordan Love played great. This is what you expect from Jordan Love. This is what you want to see from Jordan Love. He winds up with, 3 touchdowns, throws for 220 yards now. He did have the 2 interceptions, which I don't want to say he's known for throwing interceptions because he doesn't really throw a lot, but I do think that he's got to do better cleaning up those problems against good defenses. But hey, the defense came through when they needed it. I think that Green Bay is another team in that NFC North division where it's just like, wow, like when you look at Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, all 4 of those teams all right now have winning records. All 4 of their quarterbacks are playing really, really good football. Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Caleb Williams, and then Jordan Love. And they all have very good offensive lines. They're very young. They're fiery. They fight. They're just I think that could potentially be the best division in football. The NFC North looks phenomenal right now. The AFC North, though, is whew, man, that's a division, looking at it right now, watching Monday Night Football, Baltimore is just beating the hell out of Tampa Bay 34-16. You got 11 and a half minutes left in that game. But yeah, it's Cincinnati taking on Cleveland. Now, don't look now. Don't say easy here at the Full Blitz Report podcast didn't tell you so. But here comes Cincinnati. Everybody got on them because they was 0-3. They was 1-3. They was 2-3. Here they come. Here comes Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is playing lights out. T. Higgins looks phenomenal. Jamar Chase, now we're seeing this offense really get going. Chris Brown running the ball, doing really well. I think a lot of people slept on Cincinnati because they didn't come out of the gate strong like everybody thought they would. This is still Joe Burrow. Zach Brown knows what he's doing. Okay. This is still a team that has Hendrickson on that defensive line that can just wreck any game. Okay. Don't get it twisted. Now, it doesn't help when you're playing the Cleveland Browns, who are still in my bottom 5. I had a head scratcher from them. Deshaun Watson goes down. We do know now it is a ruptured Achilles. He is out for the season. I'm not saying this is the way I was hoping it was going to go, but I think this was the only way for Cleveland to start somebody else beside Deshaun Watson. I never want an injury on a player. I hope he has a speedy recovery. I hope that he is able to come back from this. But this is, in a nutshell, what Cleveland needed. Okay. Now, why you put in, I don't even know the other guy's name, but why you put the other dude in over Jameis Winston first made no sense to me. I can't understand that to save my life. But hey, that's why I'm here and they coaching in the NFL. But I mean, you put Jameis in, he comes in, throws for a touchdown. You wind up only losing by 1 touchdown and what could have been worse. I think Jameis Winston winds up being the starter moving forward, which I think is the best bet for them. But we'll see what happens with Cleveland. With Cincinnati, though, like I had mentioned with T. Higgins, this is why you have to pay him, right? This is why T. Higgins has to be on your team, because he doesn't just make it easier for Jamar Chase to get catches. He doesn't just make it easier for Chris Brown's running game to open up. He gives Joe Burrow options. He gives Joe Burrow another place to go with the ball, and not just another place to go with the ball, but a place with a trusted receiver, a guy that can catch the ball, get yards after contact, get down the field, and get you touchdowns. He knows where the sticks are. He knows how to play the position. He is so vitally important to this offense and to Joe Burrow that this is why we're starting to see that offense really start to click now. I really think it's that simple. I do. For Cincinnati. You pay T. Higgins, you make Joe Burrow's life easier. What else do you what else do you want to do? You saw what happened when in the beginning of the year when Jamar Chase wasn't 100% ready to go, when T. Higgins wasn't making the impact. You see the difference. It's 2 completely different teams. I don't. If you don't think so, I don't even want to talk sports with you. Is that real? If you don't think that T. Higgins is not I would say second or third most important person on that team behind Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. I do know what to tell you though. Washington got a scare. It hurt me. Hurt me bad because I probably lost my fantasy, like, this week because Jaden Daniels goes out with apparent rib injury after the first series. Now, that didn't matter because Washington still beat the brakes off of Carolina 40-7. 40-7. This is an NFL game. I don't know if Carolina is just that bad, if Washington's defense has gotten that good, right? Like, I don't know what the answer is, but all I know is 40-7 is ridiculous. I mean, I don't even need to put stats down for this game. Andy Dalton looked horrible. The defense for Washington really just kind of made life miserable for that entire team the entire day. And it was just for me, it was not fun to watch. I mean, it got to the point where we saw Bryce Young come back into the game. I mean, I don't know how bad life has got to be for that to happen, but QBR rating, 44 for Andy Dalton, threw for 93 yards, 2 interceptions. Yeah. I mean, the defensive line for Washington did a fantastic job holding Hubbard to 42 yards. What was really cool for me as a Titans fan was to see Marcus Mariota play again. He still got it. Boy, he still got a little shimmy and shake in him. I ain't mad at it. Ran for 11 times for 34 yards, threw for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's what I mean when I'm talking about Washington is even when their potential rookie of the year candidate goes down with an injury, they have a guy step in that basically plays the same way. A very mobile quarterback, good down the field ball thrower. Marcus Mariota has always been a very good down the field ball thrower. So, hey, good kudos to Washington. I thought that was great coaching. I thought that was just a good job all around. Now, when we get to Jaden Daniels, they are not considering it serious after the game. Jaden Daniels' mom had tweeted that he was fine, and there is a chance that he will play this week. They do have him listed as week to week. So we will keep an eye on that and see where we go with the injury to Jaden Daniels. Now, this was a game I think everybody had scheduled on their calendar when the schedule got released, and that was the Super Bowl rematch between Kansas City and San Francisco. Now, this game was, I thought this was a fun game to watch, even though Kansas City kind of had it pretty much in the bag the entire night. It never really looked at any point in time that San Francisco was in any real threat of taking the lead, especially when Brandon Ayuk goes down. We do know that that is a torn ACL and he is out for the year. Uh, what I'm just is crazy that Kansas City is 6-0 and Patrick Mahomes threw 2 interceptions and only threw for 154 yards. I mean, now I get it. The running game, it really came through. Ran for 184 yards as a team. But is Kansas City's defense like that? I mean, it looks like they are. And I know that San Francisco is weird. Sometimes they come out and play like a championship team, and then other times they come out and play like they do have Mr. Irrelevant as their quarterback. So they are a little inconsistent, but I don't even have the words to express how confused I am at how a team that is playing this bad on offense is 6-0 and is still putting up points, 28 points for a quarterback that threw less than 200 yards and had 2 interceptions. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, we're looking at a team that I now have to move up in my Power 5 rankings. They'll probably jump to 3. I think with the way Baltimore is just dog walking Tampa, it's 41-18 now. And I mean, and if you don't know, you better figure it out. Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL. And look at him. Here he is catching passes now. Derrick Henry is the number 1 running back in the NFL. And if you want to argue with me on this one, do it in the comments. leave the show an email. I'm saying Derrick Henry is going to potentially be the best running back ever when his career is over. I know people are going to hear that and be like, man, this dude is crazy. Nah, he wins the Super Bowl with Baltimore, he's going to be the greatest running back of all time. And that's just what it is. Baltimore is going to move up to the number 2 team. I'm still going to have Detroit down at, or Detroit at 1. Give me Baltimore at 2. Give me Kansas City at 3. Um, I don't want to drop Minnesota or Houston out. So I think I'm just gonna bring Houston to 4 and drop Minnesota to 5. Not that the loss to Detroit was that bad, but I just think the performances by the other teams were that good. I still think those are the best 5. So yeah, I love football season. And then let me give y'all an update. Yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was. I do not understand. One, I do not understand why the NFL continues to put 2 games on Monday night. And I refuse to understand why one of these games is the Chargers versus the Cardinals, which is currently a 6-7 game. This is not an entertaining game. This is not a fun game to watch. Why do you keep giving us these games on these doubleheaders, NFL? Please just give us one game and make it a good game. Give us 2 teams that are playing really good football. Arizona is playing okay football, and the Chargers are not playing that great. So give us better games on prime time. Especially because you want to make us have 18 different streaming services to watch what the games we want to watch. You make it expensive as hell for us to watch them. So yeah, do better. Do better. Coming out of the NFL, I always like to jump right into the college football scene because I feel like it's what people like, right? The NFL is great, but to me, college football this year has just been bananas. It's been out of this world. It's been so entertaining. It's been so fun to watch. There have been so many really good games. Now, there's obviously going to be blowouts, things like that, but I think the dynamic that is college football this year has been awesome. I do think a lot of that has to do with the new 12 team playoffs. Uh, we went over it last year or last episode with you guys on how that works. If you haven't checked it out yet, go back, make sure you check that out. But 12 teams are getting in. Power 4 conferences champions are getting in, and then the next Power 5 is going to get in, and then 7 at-large bids. Okay, it's kind of a quick breakdown. But again, college football this week gives us amazing games. The rankings got shook up a little bit. We saw something this week that we haven't seen since 2015, and something that we saw last week that carried over to this week. There's something we haven't seen since 1960. Okay, but before I tell y'all what those are, we do have new rankings. We got Oregon moving into the number 1 spot, which now marks the 4th team this year so far that has held the top spot. Georgia moves up to number 2 after beating Texas. Texas slides to number 5, and you have Tennessee moving up to 7th after beating Alabama. Now, why do I emphasize that? Not just because I'm an LSU fan, and anytime Bama loses is a good day. Hey, there we go, baby. All right, go Tigers. No. I say that because this is now, with Alabama being ranked 15th, this is now the first time since 2015 that Alabama has been ranked outside of the top 10. I'm going to say that again for y'all. This is the first time since 2015. Okay, that's almost 10 years ago. It's 10 seasons. Okay, that this is the first time that Alabama has been ranked outside of the top 10. If that doesn't just tell you the dominance that is Nick Saban and his coaching staff, his recruiting staff, everything that embodied, okay, that team and that school and that program. Just Nick Saban is the greatest of all time. Okay, not just saying that because he coached at LSU. I'm saying that because Nick Saban is the greatest college coach ever. 10 years since Alabama has been ranked outside of the top 10. That is insane. Okay. One of the teams that I let you guys know that I believe is going to be in the playoffs is number 13th BYU. Okay, BYU beat Oklahoma State, but barely. I mean, they needed a last-second touchdown to retake the lead. That was an insane finish. Okay, Oklahoma State goes down and scores. I think BYU had like 50 seconds and one timeout left. Got down the field, got the touchdown. I think it was on like a 13 or 14-yard touchdown pass. Showed a lot of resolve from them boys over in Utah. Okay, BYU is playing very good football. Oklahoma State is not a slouch program. They have a good program over there. They have a lot of good players, and I was really impressed with BYU being able to get that win. When Oklahoma State went down and scored, I thought that game was over. I was like, yo, there's no way BYU is coming back to get this dub, and that's exactly what they did. So I mean, big kudos to you, BYU. I mean, way to go, way to get it done, way to get that dub. Where I thought was crazy was watching game day down in Austin, and everybody picked Texas to beat Georgia. I'm sorry. Did y'all forget that this is still the SEC? Did y'all forget that this is still a program that won national championships, that has been the in the SEC championship game, has been in the conversation for the national championship for like the last 5 years, 6 years? I'm sorry. Why did all of y'all think that Texas was just going to walk up to Georgia and get them a dub? Like we all said that Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC was gonna face tough competition. They were gonna face teams like they had never faced before. And guess what? The Bulldogs showed them exactly what happens when you try to walk up to an SEC juggernaut and then you get punched in the mouth. I think this was a perfect way to explain, and I don't know if we can find the picture or not, but there is a picture of Arch Manning and Ewing McGregor sitting, not Ewing McGregor, that's the actor. Well, they're Ewing, their quarterback, sitting next to each other, and they both just have this dumbfound look on their face, like I don't know what to do. That's what happens when you play SEC teams. That's what happens when you play big dog SEC football. Okay, I'm not saying Texas is a bad team. I picked Texas to win the SEC. Okay, now I may change that with the way that they played. I thought they were going to play a better game than letting Georgia put up 30 on them, but they're still they're still a good team. But for everybody to just pick Texas over Georgia is insane to me. Like that's crazy. What are y'all thinking? I mean, what do we have? What do I have here? You know, Georgia wins 30-15. We did see Manning come in for a little bit. He didn't do a whole lot. The Georgia defense was just smothering all game. I mean, Texas throws 3 interceptions. ETN, picks up 3 TD or 3 touchdowns for Georgia on the ground. It just didn't seem. I'm so worked up for this game because I just so frustrated in the way that people treated Georgia before the game with picks and the way they were talking about them. It was almost like they were talking about Georgia being out of it completely. But that's what you get. You walk up to a big SEC team, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And now Texas knows. I think Texas will learn from this. I think their quarterbacks will learn from this. And I think they'll learn how to play in the SEC. In the ACC, you got Miami wins a big game against Louisville. A big game. Their Heisman hopeful quarterback, Cam Ward, just showed out and showed up for that game. 21 of 32, 319 yards, and 4 tutties. 4 touchdowns from Cam Ward. That dude is on a ridiculous roll. You can tell that he not only wants to win the Heisman, but he wants to show people, not a U fan, but that the U is back. Okay. Anybody remembers the U's from the 80s, the 90s, some of their early 2000 teams, they were just nasty. Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, they were just, oh man, they had Jeremy Shockey at one point on their squad. Great teams. They had phenomenal teams. They had a lot of other Hall of Fame NFL players, but I'm not finna rattle all of them off. Those are just the ones that came to mind real quick. But got the big win because that was an ACC game. Now, I was surprised with the points given up. I think Miami won 52-54. I think that's what it was. Give me a second. I'll actually give you the real score here. But Miami gave up a lot of points. 50, yeah, I was right, 52 to 45. Miami gave up a lot of points, and I'm surprised that their defense allowed that. I'm surprised that that defense wasn't a little stiffer, and they're going to have to play a little better because there are other teams in the ACC that could wind up challenging Miami for that ACC title. And we all know that that ACC title is what's going to get the team in the playoffs. Now, you do also have Clemson, who could challenge for the ACC title because they're a phenomenal football team and they're playing better as the year goes on. Now, my game that I was so happy to see, I watched it, it was great, was the LSU Tigers over Arkansas. I worked with some people that told me Arkansas was going to beat LSU from the beginning of the year. LSU gave me reason to believe that maybe that might be true, but they came out and did their thing. Smyer is a bona fide star for LSU. Okay, 23 of 34, 233 yards. Durham runs for 21 carries, 108 yards, and gets 3 touchdowns. That offense is really starting to look good. The defense, on the other hand, stepped up this week, right? I'm not going to say that it's a definite permanent thing because we got to see how they continue to play. But SEC football demands that LSU defense gets better because we still got to play Alabama, we got to play Texas A&M this week. So we have a lot of games coming up where this defense has got to step up. Now, with LSU winning the game, they do go into a tie with Texas A&M for first place in the SEC. Like I said, we play them this week. Now, we do play them at Kyle Field, which is going to be a crazy scene. Kyle Field is one of the hardest stadiums to play in college football. So I hope them Tigers, I hope them Bayou Bengals are ready to go. They're going to have to be because the winner of this gets sole spot of first place in the SEC. 2 other SEC teams, real quick, that I feel need to be talked about was the Alabama and the Tennessee game. Alabama winds up losing that game 17 to 24, but it was one of those weird games where neither quarterback really had it going. But it was the run game for Tennessee that really got the win for them. Samson rushed for 139 yards. The team rushed for 220 yards. Tennessee's defense comes up big in time of need with 2 interceptions. I mean, it was a big time win for the Vols. The Vols defense, the Vols team were just making plays when they needed to. Maybe not all game, but when they needed to. And it definitely came up big for them. So congratulations to Tennessee knocking Alabama out of the top 10. Like I said, for the first time since 2015, Alabama is now ranked 15th. With college football, I said that something hadn't happened since 1960, right? And as a veteran myself, guys, I am so happy to tell y'all that with Army and Navy both being ranked in the top 25, it is now the first time since 1960 that both military schools have been ranked within the top 25. That is amazing. That is awesome. Let's give it up for them. Let's give it up for the fact that those 2 schools, who are typically known for one style of play, are starting to do a little more. I mean, now granted, Army rushed for 295 yards, which is what they do, but their quarterback threw for 147 yards and a touchdown. They do a lot of options. They do a lot of power. The Army football team is a team that is all of Army officers, basically. They are at West Point. They're have a contract to be in the Army when they finish school. They go directly into active duty, and the Navy is the same way. So you don't necessarily see a whole lot of athletes. Every now and then you'll see one, and it is up to the branches board to decide if they are going to allow them to be drafted. If the Army or the Navy won't let the player out of, or not really out of, but they'll suspend their service because they'll allow them to be drafted. If they make a team, they'll allow them to play, and then whenever their career is over, they come back and they do their service for their respected branch. But having both of them in the top 25 since 1960 is one of the coolest things for me, and it just makes the Army Navy game that we're going to see later in the year even better. And I am stupid excited to watch that game. So we'll see how that works out. All right, well, y'all, just a little bit of quick breaking news that we just got. It looks like Detroit's running back or wide receiver Jamison Williams could potentially be facing a 2-game suspension for performance. Let's make sure we got this right before we put it out there. For the NFL's performance enhancing substance policy. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean he was taking steroids, but he is potentially facing a 2-game suspension. 5 of the WNBA finals wrapped it up. Do you remember who I kept saying was going to win? Do you remember?
Oh man, you just put me on the spot.
If you don't remember, it's okay. You know what's awesome about it is we got shows that you could go back and listen to. And your boy Easy right here, the host of the Full Blitz Report podcast, did call for the New York Liberty to win their first WNBA title. And guess what? The New York Liberty, in overtime, won their first WNBA title. Stewart and Jones came up big. Okay. Sabrina Ionescu was kind of invisible in that game. I don't want to say invisible, but she, had an off game. Okay. So it was Stewart and Jones that really came through for them. The Lynx left it all out there. I applaud. Look, we go hit it again. I applaud the Minnesota Lynx, okay, for their efforts pushing that game into overtime. I think it was great for the WNBA. I think that is the good kind of basketball that everybody wants to be watching. I think having a game 5 go into overtime is awesome. Nobody would ever argue with not getting or with getting more basketball. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens next season with the WNBA, with Caitlin Clark, with Angel Reese, with Cardona over there in Chicago as well. I'm so excited. I think the future of the WNBA is very bright. We have stars like Paige Bucker coming out, Juju Watkins, Flo J. Johnson, Hannah Hindagaloa, I believe is how you say her name. I don't believe these players are coming out this year. I think Flo J may be. But the future for the WNBA is very bright, and I'm very excited. The issue that I have with not just the WNBA, but the WNBA players, and I even have specific stats written down. So if people have a problem with it, they can go check it because numbers don't lie. Okay. We saw a lot of slander and a lot of trash talking from gay players, from fans, and everything else about Caitlin Clark. Okay. Caitlin Clark gets this, Caitlin Clark gets that. Well, the WNBA players just turned down the new CBA. They want a bigger percentage because the viewership is up. Baby, the viewership is up 90% because of Caitlin Clark. Okay, I'm not taking anything away from the other young talent or the veterans in this league. I'm not taking anything away from Angel Reese, but the draft had a 374% increase of viewerships from the year Caitlin Clark was drafted to the year other players were drafted. Okay. Her games got 3.4 million views, which doubled last year's views on any game. Okay. Her attendance with a game that she was involved in was averaged at 15,691. The average attendance for a non-Caitlin Clark game was 7,645. Caitlin Clark is the reason, the primary reason, more people are paying attention to the WNBA. So, hey, I'm all for y'all getting y'alls. I'm all for y'all getting paid. I'm all for all of it. But y'all need to stop with this slander like she doesn't deserve the praise and the respect that she gets. She is the main reason, not the only reason. Because I know a lot of y'all are going to sit there and be like, oh, well, it's Angel Reese. Yes, it is. Okay. There are plenty of people out there watching the WNBA because of Angel Reese. I am one of them. She was an LSU product. And I think that up until her injury, she played phenomenal in the WNBA. I've always said that her offense production needs to get better because although a lot of the rebounds that she had were off of her own misses, it's still a grown woman league and you still have to get the rebound. I do not knock her for that. But y'all need to stop acting like Caitlin Clark is not the reason. It's ridiculous. Now, as with the CPA, the collective bargaining agreement, which so people know, every organization league has one, and it's what determines a player can make. It's what determines what share of the revenue from each team goes to the players, right? It's where salary caps and practice days and everything. It's basically the contract that you sign before you start work. Okay, when you're a salary employee, you say my salary covers 40 hours a week, 2 weeks paid vacation. That's basically what the CBA is. Okay. And ladies, go get your money. Y'all are well deserving. Y'all are putting out a product that is far better than years past. But the reason people are watching is because of Caitlin Clark. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna sit here and tell y'all any other reason. I'm not gonna sit here and act like that's not the reason. Yes, Angel Reese has to do with it, absolutely. Cardona didn't play much this year, but has to do with it. She was a phenomenal player in South Carolina. She is going to be a phenomenal player for the Chicago Sky. Okay. And then those other young players, when they get to the league, especially players like Paige and Juju, they're going to light it up. Okay. But the vets that are in that league right now built the door for Caitlin Clark to kick it down for the other girls to walk through it. Let's not act like that's not the case. That's all I'm saying. Let's not act like that's not the case. Congratulations to the New York Liberty on their first title. Congratulations on the Minnesota Lynx for a hell of a season. I believe that they'll be back next year. And I'm excited to see what comes from the WNBA moving forward. When the WNBA is around, we will be talking about it here at the Full Blitz because that's what we do. We like all sports, baby. So get used to it. Speaking of all sports, a sport that, some younger people would say has been dying off is baseball. Y'all, it's here. The World Series is here. I hope y'all are ready because I am. I'm excited. And it's not just the World Series. It is the infamous New York versus LA. That's always a great spotlight. Anytime you could put New York versus LA, is where it needs to be. That's what it is. The Yankees were able to get it done in 5. They shut out, or not shut out, but they closed out the Cleveland Guardians. I'm sorry. I almost said Cleveland Indians. Can't say that anymore. Um, Closed them out in 5 games, won the series 4-1. Bats. Soto, Judge, who else we got? What's his name? I forgot his Stanton. You know, just so many people just really came to play for the Yankees and their pitching, their bullpen, their closer. It was phenomenal. Yeah, the Dodgers, it took them 6 games to close out the Mets. Okay. I'm worried about the Dodgers. Now, they did get the win 10-5. I'm worried about the Dodgers because they really go as Otani goes. If Shohan doesn't necessarily play well, the rest of the team kind of struggles. Hernandez has had a really good series. Mookie Betts is really good too. I just I think their starting pitching is going to be a problem, and I think their bullpen is going to be a problem. With all that being said, this is the Yankees' first World Series since 2009. This is the Dodgers' first World Series since 2020. And even though I am a Yankees fan, this is a non biased pick. I think the pitching and I think the timely hitting of the Yankees are going to be too much. And I think the Yankees are going to win in 6. With that being said, I do have, a little bit of a caveat to that here coming up. But just when I say what I'm going to say later, remember I'm picking the Yankees to win in 6, and the World Series starts October 25th in LA. Okay. Kind of getting to a point where we're closing out some of the sports stuff. I do want to say, don't forget the NBA starts tomorrow. The 22nd, we have Milwaukee versus Philly and Phoenix versus the LA Clippers. So we do have the NBA starting, which is awesome because I'm a big NBA guy as well. Now, like I said last week, I told y'all I wasn't much of an NHL person, but what I absolutely love is in a time of tragedy, to see the entire organization, the entire fan bases of all the teams, and all of the teams come together. Um, for those that don't know, I'm sure a lot of people do know by now. Johnny Grudier, excuse me if I didn't say his last name correct, and his brother were killed by a drunk driver while they were biking. Goodyear played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. They raised a banner for him with his number on it, and all teams will be wearing the number 13 and 21 decal to pay respects to the brothers. We send our prayers to the family for their loss. And really want to take this opportunity to let you guys know that we have Uber, we have Lyft, you have Feet. There are so many different ways that you can get around without drinking and driving. If you've had too much to drink, call a friend. If anything else, sleep in the back seat of your car. Two young men taken from us, both immensely talented in their sports, and from everything that I've read, are just all around great people. Had their lives taken way too soon. And like I said, prayers and respects to the two brothers, and much respect for the NHL community and their fans for coming together and really showing that family the love and support and how much their family member meant to them as NHL players. Now to probably my favorite part of the show. And Louis, I got a good one for you today. I've had some, I feel like all the ones we've had so far have been pretty good bangers. When the birth control for the rats in New York seems to be like the bottom of the list, I feel like we've been doing pretty good. But y'all know what that means. It is time for all right, man. On this week of Ain't No Way, what I need you to do is
All right, what you got for me, man?
keep your faith in humanity. When I tell you this story, and understand that not everybody's intelligent. Okay, so
Man, what you about to say?
I'm worried. So I'm gonna give you the headline, right? Police in U.S. find drugs inside of a bag labeled "Definitely not a bag full of drugs in here." So here's
You're lying.
no, I'm so serious.
That's
So
plan A.
so here's
What?
here's the story, and it gets worse, right? So the stash was discovered in Portland, Oregon, when officers stopped a driver and passenger inside of an alleged stolen car. Right? So we batting 1,000 right now.
So the car's stolen.
The car's stolen, right?
Did their license plate say definitely not a stolen car?
You know something, at this point, I do not know. So the police
Right.
posted a picture on Twitter of the bag, and the bag didn't just have drugs in it, but the bag, so pictured along with the
Wait,
items.
where is this? How do I find the picture?
So
I gotta get some visuals going.
I haven't got it. So the report.
What county? Where's this at?
So it was in Portland, Oregon. Okay. And I do know that the story is under Sky News. It was the 12th of October, so we're a couple of days behind. But if you can find it, I need you to put the picture for our viewers, because not only did the bag have drugs in it, right? But it had pictured along with the items recovered from the vehicle was a small brown makeup bag with the words "definitely not a bag full of drugs" written on the front. Despite the claim on the vanity case, more than 10 grams of fentanyl and meth were reportedly found inside, along with scales and a loaded firearm. So I'm just, for me, it's a very basic story, right? There's not a lot of wrinkles to this
Right.
because
got
when you're a
something going.
dumb ass criminal, there it is, y'all. There it is. That is what
Hey, yo. Fox 12, Oregon. All these
I'm just trying to figure it out. Like,
definitely
just
not a bag of drugs.
definitely
and
not
it's
a
not. It's like printed on there nice and like a nice design.
yeah. Like
It kind of goes hard.
it does not
That's
go
like
hard.
from Spencer's or something.
When you actually put drugs
Bro.
in that bag, you have
Bro.
now like natural selection is gonna get
my
you.
God.
Like, what are we doing? And again, this kind of ties into the story last week with
Okay.
the millions of olive oil. Are criminals just getting that dumb? Are they just that lazy?
$1-million international olive oil heist.
And now
That's what it
this.
was last week.
And now this. Like, I'm not gonna divulge my criminal history, okay? Because I don't know what the statute of limitations are on certain things. But I would never walk around with a bag full of drugs that says definitely not a bag full of drugs.
They're obviously fucking stupid.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. My faith in my faith in humanity
in Oregon. Isn't everything like legal there? What's isn't
I
there,
think
like,
it's decriminalized. I think all drugs are decriminalized in
so
Oregon.
you can't have like bags of it in a stolen car.
No, that's not decriminalized. That is absolutely a
that's-
crime.
That's a problem.
But when I saw it, it immediately clicked. Like, ain't no way. There ain't no way somebody was this stupid to be like, hey, they'll
Yeah.
never think to look in this bag because it says this isn't a bag full of drugs.
I mean,
And then
I don't know.
You-
I probably would have tried to get away with it.
you're in a stolen car. You got scales. You have a firearm. You have
They were
cash.
obviously on a tear. They were on a run. They were
They was
going
on
in.
stupid,
They
is
were
what they
probably up
was.
for 5 days.
Yeah,
they weren't thinking.
Look,
They were like,
guys.
let's get this bag.
For all of my drug dealers that listen to this show, remember, don't get high on your own supply. Because if you do, that's the shit that you go and do.
Yeah,
Hey,
should be rule number 1.
I had to have I wanted to do
That's what Biggie said.
a simple little, story this week. And that one
Yo, that's crazy. Though.
that is the perfect
That's like-
example.
I mean, yeah, that's like in a comedy movie. That's like something.
It's
It's like the plot of like.
So
some
to
National
me, when I
Lampoon
saw
movie.
that, all I could think of was somebody coming up and go, "Yo, no shit, there I was." Like
That's when I knew.
that. This is when he knew he fucked up. I just
Yo, that's crazy. Ain't no
motherfucking
way,
way. All right, so for this
Some
week,
wild stuff.
typically at this point, we have our promises picks segment. Well, my guy has been tied up, so I don't know if I would necessarily go with the picks I'm getting ready to give y'all, but we're going to call it Easy's Take 'em for this week, okay? But so y'all know, my guy, when I do get the picks back from him, he went 5-1 last week, okay? Which means he's 8-1 overall. The only one that he missed was the Tennessee-Alabama over, and that really was like an outlier. I felt like that game was going to go way, way over 55. So, yeah, just keep rocking with Promises Picks. Hopefully it'll be back next week. But a fun fact, top bettors are predicting at a 55% clip. All right? My guy is doing better than that. At 8-1, that's like 90%. Okay? I just keep rocking with us. But like I said, this week, we're going to call it Easy's Take'ems. They are 3 picks that I looked at that I liked. Okay. And the first thing we're going to start off with is Boise State minus 2.5. I really like Boise State. Their running back, again, has ran for like 1 million yards this season so far. I really like Boise State minus 2.5. This next one I thought was crazy. I do understand it's a game with Alabama, but Alabama's ranked 15, Missouri is ranked 21, and Missouri plays really hard, good football. Right now, I would take Missouri at plus 13.5. Okay. I do think Alabama's going to win the game, but I do not think they're going to beat Missouri by 14 points. So that's going to be an interesting one to see. Missouri at plus 13.5. And this was what I was telling y'all earlier. I told y'all I like the Yankees to win in 6, but I like LA minus 130 for game 1 at home. Okay. I know that New York is the favorite, but I do like LA either money line or minus 130. I do think LA is probably going to get the win here. Okay. But we will see what happens. Y'all, that is Easy's Take 'em for this week. Hopefully, Promises Picks will be back next week. And look, guys, as always, okay, we really, really appreciate all of the love and support that you guys have shown the show so far. We have 3 episodes out. This is our 4th one. Please make sure to go and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We are going to be having clips on those formats coming to y'all soon. And make sure to follow us and watch us, subscribe on all platforms right here, guys. Y'all see it at Full Blitz Report, okay? YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Apple, all right? We need all of the support everywhere, baby. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us if you want to see more of the digital doctor. I keep him on the screen the whole time, okay?
Hey, a digital doctor can get busy.
Hey, look,
Per your request.
I have him watching every sport known to man just so he knows what's going on.
I'm always trying. I'm down to get the people what they want.
You know, or y'all seen the wetsuit before. If we got to, we'll start talking about surfing. Okay, I'm not much of a surfer. I float more than anything.
I think you can get on a board. We need to get you a big old 12-foot board.
Man, look, I tell you what, I tried to join the Navy before I joined the Army as a buoy. And they told me no.
You try to join as a buoy?
Yeah, man. I told them I go out there and wear an orange shirt and everything, and I felt like it was a good job.
Just float around.
Just float around. But seriously, guys, we appreciate all the love and support that y'all have shown us so far. Remember, if you're not rocking with us, it's never too late. If you are rocking with us, keep rocking with us because we only getting better, baby. Every show is an improvement, and every time we hop on here, we here for y'all. But listen, till next week, we love y'all. Thank y'all.